I do receive messages about what preparatory program means. Well, before coming to Russia, you have options to either study in Russian language or in English language. Even some of these universities even go far as much as offering courses in Spanish, French, and Chinese. So you need to choose which options is good for you. But I will be explaining the difference between studying in English and studying in Russian language. Then after the video, you have to decide for yourself which option is suitable for you. So what is preparatory program? It is basically the foundation year designed for international students that has no knowledge about the Russian language. Students typically learn Russian language, mathematics, depending on the field, physics, chemistry, biology, or related subjects. And this course usually lasts between 8 to 10 months, depending on the university. So what are the advantages of preparatory program? First, you learn Russian language. This is the biggest advantage because your most daily lives activities in Russia will be easier for you if you can speak and communicate in Russian language. The second advantage is university becomes easier for you in the sense, instead of you struggling with lectures, you already have the language skill to follow up with classes and be able to communicate with your professors. The third advantage is better job opportunities. Many companies in Russia, full-time or part-time jobs, require you to learn, at least to know the basics of the language. So knowing this language gives you more option. In the past, I've had students who told me, I worked and they don't pay me. It's possible. What will you do? You know they speak the Russian language. What exactly will you do? Absolutely nothing. Another advantage is integration. You will be able to make friends with many other nationalities apart from Russians. And these Russian people, sometimes they could take you to their farmhouse or, to meet their family just for just friendship. If you go there and I mean they speak anything, you come like say, you be baby. So for you to integrate into the system, the language is very, very needed. There's no doubt about it. Another advantage is for better or for long-time opportunities. If you plan to live in Russia after graduation from your university, then you need to learn the language because there are basic things you need to do by yourself, like applying for residency, temporary residency, permanent residency, or even the citizenship. Sometimes going to the hospital when you graduate from a university, nobody's going to help you do these things. It's either you learn it or when you're going to the hospital, you need to take a translator. It could charge you 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 per hour, depending on the city you live. So for you to do these things by yourself without nobody helping you, you need to learn this language. And when you learn this language, you have a better jobs in the future, because when you just come for the preparatory program, you only work maybe restaurants, supermarket. But after graduation, you could, intend on working at the hospital or working at the bank. Just for reference, you need this language. So here are the advantages, not many anyway. You need to study for 1 extra year. For example, when you're coming for the full BSc program in English language, you don't need to learn the preparatory program. You could just do your 4 years and that's it. But if you want to study in Russian language, you need to go through the preparatory program for 1 year, which you have to pay tuition fee. You need to pay for accommodation and other things. So instead of 4 years, it will be 5 years. So who needs this course? First, if you want to learn a Russian language, you need to study the Russian preparatory program. If you intend to work in Russia, you also need to learn this language. If you plan to live in Russia beyond your graduation, after you graduate, you also need this course. And those that don't actually need the course are people who actually want to study in English language. Maybe they don't have any plans to stay in Russia after their graduation, or they don't plan to stay in Russia for a long time. Sometimes plans might change. I myself did not plan to live in Russia. It just happened. I liked it here and I decided to stay back. So, but in generally, these are just the advantages and disadvantages. It depends on you totally which options you want. You could choose to study in English language, good, you could still work with that, but it's gonna be difficult for you. I've seen people who tell you Russia this, Russia that, saying negative things about Russia. Some of these people does not even speak the language, and because of these things, it will make them very, very, it will be difficult for them. Anything they do will be like, say, nah, like, if you don't speak the Russian language, I'll just tell you summary. If you don't speak the Russian language, there's a time in your life you go think say Nigeria better pass Russia. It happens. Yes, you go begin to think. So in summary of everything, if you plan to live in Russia for a long time, you plan to work here, you plan to get married. Although this married sometimes they think it just happens. So if you plan to just live in Russia for a long time, then I would advise you make you learn. There's nothing like I waste money. It's experience. And for the fact you don't learn the language they speak, it will be difficult for you to even leave the country. So it's your choice. I don't tell now the advantage and disadvantage. Whichever one suits you more, then you take. That's all for this video.